on the record. Today is October the 21st of the year Lord 2021 AD. The time now is 9 minutes past 10 a.m. and we are making this Superior Court of Record is now open and on session under Title 28. Title 28, Section 636. Subchapter Gulf is the Superior Court of Jurisdictional Powers. Powers obtained by the violation on the record. There is a violation of protective rights, and we are making this as a formal or official report of kidnapping. And this goes to the attention of Sandy Emanuel. Sandy Emanuel is the CEO for the Peak Hospital, where I was detained without a cause, without a reason, without a crime. I was detained on violation of my protective rights. Zedekiah is also being detained. This is for your information, Mrs. Sandy Emanuel. And this also is directed to the head of the Human Services Department of New Mexico, Betina Mc Cracken. Bravo, Echo, Tango, India, November, Alpha, capital Michael, lowercase Charlie, uppercase Charlie, lowercase Romeo, lowercase Alpha, lowercase Charlie, and lowercase Kilo, lowercase Echo, and lowercase November. For the record, Mrs. Mc Cracken, it's a good thing that I have the right, or I should say the correct party interested in this report of kidnapping. Kidnapping by who? By the state you represent, by the state of New Mexico, because this psychiatric hospital is kidnapping people, and the state of New Mexico is kidnapping these people. Please excuse my bird. He is also angry about this. I shouldn't say hungry or angry, because we are being spoken a language that we don't speak. That's the main topic. And I have left a video from Clarence Thomas, Judge, Squire, at the Supreme Court for the United States, that clearly says that the process cannot be attempted if it's not on a language that the people understand. And the people do not understand the commercial language, which is in what everything is conducted. And we're going to go to the bottom of this. For the Honorable J. Jesús-Arriaga Ponce and for the Honorable Zedekiah are protected persons by the Geneva Conventions 4 of August 12, 1949, as we have mentioned on the record. An additional Protocol 1 of 1977 June 8th of 1977. Now on this book, Mrs. Mc Cracken, I'm going to have the pleasure on this report to introduce my document and the certificate that accredits me as a federal postal judge, sui juris. And right now, I'm going to give you, right this minute, I'm going to have the opportunity to present you with my certification of law. By the New Mexico Supreme Court, and this is my registration for the record. So once we have this clear evidence, and there is no doubt, or nobody has objected to have been dealing with one of the people, because to the contrary, they shall have to prove that we are not one of the people. Now, Mrs. Mc Cracken, you are dealing now with two kidnapped people by the state of New Mexico, and it is your duty to proceed immediately and act up on a ministerial duty on the witnessing of a constitutional wrong. Would you agree that the government cannot kidnap people? If your agreement is yes, there you have the reason to act up in a ministerial duty. If you answer is yes, they can kidnap the people, well, you're going to have to bring evidence that the state can kidnap people, which you'll never be able to bring. Because there is no law that the state gives, that gives the state any power over the people. Now, having that being explained, Mrs. Mc Cracken, I'm going to have the pleasure to read for the record Chapter 3, Penal and Disciplinary Sanctions. For the record of this General Convention's Prisoner of War Handbook. It reads, 1. General Provisions, Article 82, a prisoner of war shall be subject to the laws. And I'm going to stop right there. Subject to the laws. The prisoner of war must be subject to the laws. So how is it that Zedekiah came in subject to your law? And how is it that a federal postal judge, sui juris, became subject of the law of the state of New Mexico? You don't have it. You don't have it. Nobody in that building has it. Okay, now, regulations and order in force in the armed forces of the detaining power. You are the detaining power. And you are the kidnapper. So I'm making this report to let you know officially on this video that this is forensic evidence that you are acting unconstitutionally, even though you have received a video and documentation that explains in detail how that happens. Now, For Dr. Gatlin and Dr. And Dr. Gazarov here, Dr. Gazarov is a psychologist that for the state of New Mexico, who voluntarily kidnapped for the Honorable J. Jesús-Arriaga Abonce and Sedekaya. Now, the detaining power shall be justified in taking judicial or disciplinary measures. You are not justified. You are not justified. The detaining power shall be justified in taking judicial or disciplinary measures. I'm going to say it again. You are not justified. You are not justified. The detaining power shall be justified in taking judicial or disciplinary measures. For the record, for the third time, you are not certified. You are not justified. So if you have no justification and you have been told and shown that it is in violation of protected rights and violation of Title 18, Section 242, which is denial of rights under color of law, and violation of Title 18 U.S. Code Section 241, which is conspiracy against rights. Now, Doctor, we have Dr. Gatlin. Dr. Gatlin, plain and simple, says, I don't think I understand what you are talking about. Or, for the record, you can go down below and see Dr. Gatlin's video. So we have a controversy. You have a doctor of psychology saying that he don't understand what's going on. It's obvious that you did not understood what's going on. But we have Dr. Aldo that says that that you cannot proceed if you don't speak the language, the patient's language. And any procedure now that you are doing against Sedekaya and against the Honorable J. Jesús-Arriaga Abonce, and this goes for the state of New Mexico, Mrs. Mc Cracken, you are listening to this in an official way. You are being given real law, the real standing decision by the Supreme Court for the United States, and you are being shown certification of law from the Supreme Court on this record. We have taken the opportunity to get the certified law, or the certification of law. Certifying of this law is full evidence that you have trespassed by kidnapping. Now, if you don't understand that the detaining power shall be justified in taking judicial or disciplinary measures in respect of any offense committed, now let's talk about what offense Sedekaya has committed. Because there is a report, there is no crime committed. And if there is no crime, there is no offense. And now, for the Honorable J. Jesús-Arriaga Abonce, what crime or evidence you have of any crime committed? It's not a crime to reserve your rights. If so, bring it on the record now, or immediately stop everything, including this foreclosure. The state of New Mexico claims to have a foreclosure and a mortgage that do not exist. The evidence is here on the record. On this case, I mentioned now. In the Superior Court of Record and on the Corporate United States District Court for the Corporate District of New Mexico, case number 1, column 20 dash Charlie Victor dash 00113 Juliet, no, Kilo Golf uppercase Juliet Hotel Romeo. For the record, this is a real case in federal court. So you are in federal court. You are sitting now on the witness stand of this Superior Court of Record and on the witness stand of the Corporate District Court for the Corporate District of New Mexico. Now, for the record, if the state or the detaining power shall be justified in taking judicial or disciplinary measures in respect of any offense, and they have not presented any justification, shouldn't that be enough for you to stop this foreclosure? Stop this foreclosure. You are foreclosing on the National American Red Cross. Since when the state can attack a humanitarian agency that is worldwide? The National American Red Cross and the Military Welfare Service are the neutral party and shall not be detained. Now, Zedekiah is also a member of this chapter of 1308 by adoption of chapter 1308 on his rescue, on the violation of his protective rights. On the record, you received documents. You received a video, and you are receiving this video with the forensic evidence that I have on my manual. I am in full uniform, bringing it into the record, because this is what the protocol says. And the protocol says to ask you for the regulations of orders that allow you to proceed against the humanitarian organization of the Red Cross. This is my badge. This is my badge. This is my ID, and it has the numbers cited on the lawful notification 1308. And I'm going to read this again for the record from Chapter 3, Penal and Disciplinary Sanctions, 1, General Provisions, Article 82. A prisoner of war shall be subject to the laws, regulations, and orders enforced in the armed forces of the detaining power. The people is not subject. And you are hereby compelled to bring anything to the contrary, and you have 72 hours to the contrary. You have failed to prove, if in case you said yes, in case you wanted to go against this law. The detaining power shall be justified in taking judicial or disciplinary measures in respect of any offense committed by a prisoner of war against such laws. Is it a crime to reserve your rights? Is it Zedekiah farther being willfully detained after this notice? And this goes for all your inmates that you have in there. You claim that they're not inmates. Oh, so they're outpatients. Now, do you know the difference between in and out? You've heard it on the video. This lady first agreed that this is a mental hospital. Now, let me ask you one thing. Corporations have minds. You're not supposed to be dealing with minds at all. Minds belong to people. What is it with you? Since when the United States Army has the authority to attack the National American Red Cross? On the record. Now, Mrs. Mc Cracken, I'm going to continue on this, okay? However, no proceedings or punishments contrary to the provisions of this chapter shall be allowed. If any law, regulation, or order of the detaining power shall declare acts committed by a prisoner of war to be punishable, whereas the same acts will not be punishable if committed by a member of the forces of the detaining power, such acts shall entail disciplinary and punishments only, right? Now, a prisoner of war shall be, and this is pursuant Article 84, a prisoner of war shall be tried only by a military court. Are you a military court? And can a military court proceed against the people? The answer is no. Unless the existing laws of the detaining power expressly permit the civil courts to try a member of the armed forces of the detaining power. So I'm a member of the armed forces of the detaining party. Because you have proceeded. And I'm hereby to tell you that it is not applicable. Jesús-Arriaga Avonce is one of the people as contemplated on the preamble of the Constitution. Now listen to this, Mrs. Mc Cracken. In case you did not know, the government owns the citizens, but the people owns the government. We wrote the Constitution and the amendments there too. The detaining power in respect of the particular offense alleged to have been committed by the prisoner of war. What is the violation? What is the crime committed? I mean, you know what? There is no crime committed. You have feelings, don't you? You have the right to disagree, right? Since when a psychologist is going to interfere with the rights of the people to disagree on this corporate form of arbitrary government, applying corporate law to people? And this book here was written specifically to avoid that. In no circumstances, wherever shall a prisoner of war be tried in a court of any kind which does not offer the essential guarantees of independence and impartiality as generally recognized, and in particular the procedure of which does not afford the accused the rights or means of defense provided for in Article 105. I'm going to put it on the screen for the record, in case you think I was reading it inaccurately. Now we're going to go to the most interesting part, and we're going to go into the repatriation. How do you repatriate somebody who has been kidnapped by the state of New Mexico? Well, you repatriate these people back to his tribe by stopping the process. In this case, I want you to stop the process of foreclosure. Case number Delta 13 dash Charlie Victor dash 2019-01401. And I'm going to read an article that I'm going to read this article 107, and this is pertaining pertaining this judgment. This judgment on the case that we just read. Article 107 of the Geneva Convention's POW Handbook reads as follows. Any judgment and sentence pronounced upon a prisoner of war shall be immediately reported to the protecting power in the form of a summary communication. Now, the protecting power here, the state of New Mexico is the detaining power, and the protecting power here is the Red Cross. You want to go against the Red Cross, and you want to go against the Geneva Conventions. You want to go against Article 107 of this Geneva Conventions book, POW Handbook. Now, you're going to have to go and tell them that you are proceeding against those who see for your welfare. The Military Welfare Service seeks for the well-being of the families of military members. And you are a military member, I am most positive. Or you are a family of a military member, and this is on times of war. So if we are the neutral party and the one that looks after you, how is it that you can attack us? And it says here, any judgment and sentence pronounced upon a prisoner of war shall be immediately reported to the protecting power in the form of a summary communication, which also indicate whether he has the right to appeal or with a view to the quashing of the sentence. Now, Mrs. Mc Cracken, if I started this video saying that this is a foreclosure and a mortgage that do not exist, and you want to go against that, now you're going to have to come up with a mortgage. Now, for your information, there is 4 mortgages on this house, if not 5, and that is punishable. See the Bill Erpenbeck case, where he was sentenced to 30 years in prison for having 2 mortgages on each one of his houses that he was building. 30 years of jail, and you will be guilty of that. The summary communication, which shall also indicate whether he has the right to appeal with a view to the quashing of the sentence. This is my appeal, Mrs. Mc Cracken. Consider this my official appeal. I'm appealing to you. You are the head of the state of New Mexico and the Human Services Department, and you please acknowledge hereby that Zedekiah is a human being. And for the Honorable J. Jesús-Arriaga Bonce is his protector, his counsel, and his advisor on regard of his protective rights. I have requested to schedule a meeting telephonically by video, and I have been denied on the record. I have requested the email for this Sandy Emmanuel, and I've been denied on the record, and you have this video. Now we're going to reopen this case for the trial. This communication shall likewise be sent to the prisoner representative concerned. Now, I am demanding that if any sentence is there for Zedekiah, that I be notified immediately at the Red Cross, Chapter 1308, on this address. To 2441 P.O. Box, Los Lunas, New Mexico. Now, if it was also sent to the accuser, to the accused, how come is it that you don't have served me with the documents for the detaining that you presented, that you committed for the kidnapping? If the sentence was not pronounced in his presence, the detaining power shall also immediately communicate to the protecting power the decision of a prisoner of war to use or to waive his right of appeal. I'm not waiving my right of appeal. I'm appealing to you on this video, and I'm asking you to stop it, to please cease, desist, retract, stop this kidnapping. Now we're going to go farther down here. Furthermore, if a prisoner of war is finally convicted of a sentence pronounced on a prisoners of war in the first instance, is a death sentence, the detaining power shall, as soon as possible, address to the protective power of the detailed communication containing the precise wording of the findings and sentence, a summarized report of any preliminary investigation of the trial, emphasizing in particular elements of the prosecution and the defense. 3. Notifications were applicable of the establishment where the sentence will be served. The communication provided for the foregoing subparagraphs shall be sent to the protecting power at the address previously made known to the detaining power, Article 108. Sentences pronounced on prisoners of war after a conviction has become duly enforceable shall be served with the same establishments and under the same conditions as the case of members of the armed forces of the detaining power. These conditions shall, in cases, conform to the requirements of health and humanity. Health and humanity. And you are from the humanitarian head of the Human Services Department, for the record. Mrs. Mc Cracken. A woman prisoner of war, or whom such a sentence has been pronounced, shall be confined in separate quarters and shall have under the provision of woman. For the Honorable J. Jesús-Arriaga Abonce is not a sir. On the record. If any case, prisoners of war sentenced to any penalty depriving them of their liberty shall retain the benefit of the provisions of Articles 78 and 126 of the present convention. Furthermore, they shall be entitled to receive a dispatch or correspondence to receive at least one relief parcel monthly, to take regular exercise in the open air, and to have the medical care required by the state of health and the spiritual assistance that might desire, penalties of which they may not be subject shall be in accordance with the provisions of Article 87, third paragraph. Now, Mrs. Mc Cracken, I was on this facility as contained on the record from October 6th approximately about 30 minutes past 10 p.m. of the year 2021 to October 15th. At 6 a.m. of the year Lord 2021 for something that was never justified. We were not given the right food. We were not given the right treatment. We were threatened. I was raped, trespassed on by injections. If I didn't want to talk to the doctor, oh, somebody inject them. Under what authority, doctor? And they will put me to sleep. I didn't assist for dinner that night. And this was 3 repeated occasions. So this is 3 counts of rape. If somebody does something to somebody else against their will, it is rape. Would you agree, Mrs. Mc Cracken? Sentences pronounced on prisoners of war. A conviction has become duly enforceable shall be served on the same establishments and under the same conditions as in case of members of the armed forces of the detaining power. These conditions shall, in all cases, conform to the requirements of health and humanity. I see people being inhumanely treated. And why is it that I say that they are being inhumanely treated? Because they are being treated as corporations, not as human beings. And I was there. Nobody told me. Oh, you don't want to do this? I'll get 3 guys and have you to restrain you. To restrain you, to use the chemical restraint against you. Since when the state of New Mexico can proceed against the humanitarian personnel protected by the Geneva Conventions to put them under chemical restraint? I was placed on chemical restraint 3 times against my will. And on the record, I said it, I don't like to be touched by niggers. And a nigger from Nigeria or with a Nigerian descendant by the color of the skin touched me against my will. So you might say now that I was raped by a nigger. No shampoo, no toothpaste, no soap. You want to take a shower? Oh, no soap. You want to brush your teeth? Oh, no toothpaste, no nothing. I shaved once. A young lady in there made me a favor. She shaved me because she said that I could not hold the razor. Come on. Mrs. Mc Cracken, you are hereby given the temporary assignment under Title 28 U.S. Code Section 636, Subchapter Golf, to proceed accordingly on the witnessing of a constitutional wrong and notify immediately the Red Cross in Washington, D.C., that you are detaining one of his members, as active members of the Military Welfare Service. It is on the record now. You received this video, Dr. Gatlin? You have to do the same thing. Dr. Gazaroff, you have to do the same thing. Sandy Emmanuel, you have to do the same thing. Dr. Aldo, you have to do the same thing. Therapist Audrey, you have to do the same thing. Therapist Migdala, you have to do the same thing. And all nurses who witness the rape and the injection of chemicals regarding the chemical restraint. You have to do the same thing. Notify the American Red Cross and say the state of New Mexico is detaining, kidnapping, and proceeding against a member of the Military Welfare Service, honorable veteran of the National American Red Cross and the Red Cross in Mexico City since 1968. Now, to all of you, determination of captivity, Section 1, direct repatriation and accommodations in neutral countries. We are hereby requesting repatriation and accommodation on a neutral country. We have witnessed a crime, and we are hereby invoking and requesting that we be placed on the list of protected witness. If Article 109, subject to the provisions to the third paragraph of this article, parties to have conflict are bound to send back to their own country, regardless of number of rank, seriously wounded or seriously sick prisoners of war, after having cared for them until they are fit to travel, in accordance with the first paragraph of the following article. I was placed on a van, and I was drove back to my chapter of this Red Cross. I cannot travel sitting down, and I got hurt. I got an intravertebral injury at the neurological level, 2 of them, L5 and S1 for the record. In accordance with this first paragraph of the following article. To the duration of hostilities, parties to the conflict shall endeavor, with the cooperation of the neutral powers concerned, to make arrangements. Okay, I'm the neutral party, the National American Red Cross. You have a conflict with Zedekiah? Well, I am intervening for him. I'm the neutral party, and this article 109 tells you exactly what it is. The neutral powers concerned to make the arrangements. I am making these arrangements. Release Zedekiah. And it's on the record. Now, Zedekiah is a Native American. And for the Honorable J. Jesús-Arriaga Abonce is also a Native American. No citizens of any country, for the record. For therefore not subject to any laws of those countries. You have something different against this article, bring it into the record now, or cease immediately. Notify, stop this kidnapping. Now you have been legally notified of the fact that you need to stop this kidnapping, and you are being colluded if you don't. Mrs. Mc Cracken and all of the personalities I mentioned here. This is a serious matter. This is a court of record. You are sitting now on the witness stand of this Superior Court of Record. And in the Corporate United States District Court for the Corporate District of New Mexico, and we read that case number. Arrangements for the accommodation in neutral countries of the sick and wounded prisoners of war. Is it clear on the record now that I've given you my authority, my identification, I've given you everything you need? And I'm reading this for the record. And I'm going to put it in here for the record. So I have, and I will put it once more, and you need to read this article in detail. This is forensic evidence. I'm submitting this article for the Honorable J. Jesús-Arriaga Abonce is submitting the entire book of the Geneva Convention's POW Handbook. Now, my book says, Mrs. Mc Cracken, they may not In addition, conclude agreements with a view to the direct repatriation on internment in a neutral country or be able-bodied prisoners of war have undergone a long period of captivity. No sick or injured prisoners of war who is eligible for repatriation under this first paragraph of this article might be repatriated against his will during hostilities. You have Zedekiah repatriated to the National American Red Cross, who is adopting his representation on the record on this video. And do it now. Article 110. The following shall be repatriated direct, incurably wounded and sick, whose mental or physical fitness seems to have been gravely diminished. Now, we have a psychologist over here saying that when you are under kidnapping, you have suffered mental trauma. Is that enough to release him? Because of his mental trauma, you can no longer proceed to interrogate anybody who has pleaded the Fifth Amendment and reserve the right to remain silent. So his mental capacity has been gravely diminished. You cannot proceed. He has reserved his rights. You cannot proceed. He has pleaded the Fifth. You cannot proceed. He wishes to remain silent. He doesn't. You cannot proceed. He don't speak the language. You cannot proceed. By the statement or verbally deposition of Dr. Aldo. You want to go against Dr. Aldo? Dr. Gazarov, it's been proven that you don't know what you're doing, but farther is that you are being bellic on top of it. And we will seek the death penalty for you if you don't comply. If you comply, we'll commute that to life in prison on Guantanamo. But you're not getting away with this, sir. It's on the record. Wounded and sick whose, according to medical opinion, are not likely to recover within 1 year, whose conditions require treatment, and whose mental or physical fitness seems to have been greatly diminished. Zedekiah meets all the criteria. You are a psychologist. How long does it take to recover? From this mental trauma, doctor. Wounded and sick who have recovered but whose mental or physical fitness seem to have been gravely and permanently diminished. Wounded and sick who have recovered but whose mental or physical fitness seems to have been gravely and permanently diminished. Now, doctor, you are a psychologist. What's the impact that anyone under kidnapping may go through and his family? You are hereby immediately requested to stop, refrain, retract, desist, or suffer the consequences one more. Now, I'm going to refer you to read this entire book because I don't have the time to read it, but eventually I will have more time to read it. Prisoners of war whose mental or physical health, according to medical opinion, is seriously threatened by continued captivity, but whose accommodations in a neutral country might remove such threat. Now, doctor, you want to be guilty of this? Section 2 of Article See it with your eyes, doctor. Stop this video and start reading. Now, Mrs. Mc Cracken, on this book, it also says that the detaining power shall be responsible for all the expenses for the repatriating of the sick and wounded of the military or a member of the family of a protected person. For the Honorable J. Jesús-Arriaga Ponce is a protected person by the Geneva Conventions 4 of August 12 of 1949, an additional Protocol 1 of June 8 of 1977. And I'm hereby adopting Sedekiah, legal adoption on representation of his well-being, as it is my duty as an honorable member of the Military Welfare Service. If I didn't do this, I will be doing something against protocol. It is my duty to protect, and it is your duty to protect and respect, to uphold the Constitution and protect the people. Will you continue on this path? It is on the record now that you will be doing so unconstitutionally. Article 94. If an escaped prisoner of war is recaptured, the power of which he depends shall be notified thereof in the manner defined in Article 122, provided notification of his escape, that his escape has been made. Now, for the record, Mrs. Mc Cracken, for the record, for the Honorable Bettina Mc Cracken. I had the opportunity to see one of those inmates jump the fence and took off running. Well, he was brought back. Forensic evidence that he was detained against his will. I am also representing him in this matter. He was placed on gown and sandals. He was deprived of his right to go outside to get some air and to catch the sun rays for 3 days or 4 days, I believe. That's unconstitutional. Same argument. You know, you don't have any power, any authority. How is it that you can do that to human beings? And then on the phone, we have a lady saying, no, they're not inmates, so they must be there voluntarily, correct? This proves that no one, absolutely no one, is in there voluntarily. But you are going in there voluntarily Bettina Mc Cracken, you are going in there voluntarily if you don't act up in a ministerial duty on the witnessing of a constitutional wrong. Rather than making one long video, I decided to make my videos at least 1 hour or 30 minutes. They take less time to be viewed, they take less time to be understood, they take less time to bring my point across effectively. And in this video I have. This Superior Court of Record directs all defendants listed on this video to read the entire book of the Geneva Convention's POW handbook mandatorily, so you're going to see exactly what you are violating. I will continue to read, but for the time being, Bettina Mc Cracken, you are officially notified of this kidnapping. Proceed accordingly on the witnessing of a constitutional wrong, or compound to this constitutional wrong on the record. I will be coming to your office via email or another video in which I'm going to apply for you to pay for my expenses until all this is resolved in the Superior Court of Record and on the Corporate United States District Court for the Corporate District of New Mexico. Please proceed accordingly to avoid violation of Title 18 U.S. Code Section 2071, which immediately puts you 3 years in jail and you are forfeiting your position. The same for you, doctor. The same for all this, Dr. Gatlin, Dr. Gazarov, Dr. Aldo, therapist Audrey, therapist Migdala, in all of the involved, all the nursing involved, all the nursing body involved in this kidnapping. And this is forensic evidence that triggers the insurance claim. Insurance of title claims that are listed on a document you will be receiving soon for the record. This video is also directed to Diana Garcia, head of the Los Lunas child support, and this is her email address. Dr. Gatlin, you have to send her this video, and this is her name. The time now is 7 minutes past 11 a.m. on this October 21st of the year Lord 2021. Is on the record.